Procurement is a vast field, but today I just want to focus on a very critical aspect of procurement, which is vendor management. Since you already are, or all of you are kind of seasoned procurement people or persons, I'm not going into the previous aspects of procurement. I assume that everything has already been done, and now we are at a stage where we are going into procurement, where we are going into vendor selection process. So once the portfolio analysis is completed, the buyer must then dive into the category and evaluate individual suppliers as to their suitability, narrowing the list down to a critical few. Suppliers are the bloodline of any organization, and this process should be done with great care. The ultimate result of this step is to make sure supplier recommendation is done properly. So buyers must first identify current and potential suppliers, determine any information related to technology requirements, and identify opportunities to leverage the commodity expenditures with similar commodities. Acknowledging need for sourcing means identifying what do you need to source and from where it is originated. Without knowing that, you will lose the sight. As it is said that if you don't know where you're going, you could end up anywhere. The way to do it is to check again with your user group and see if they have developed a specification document or a project charter. Determining the criteria for supplier sourcing is obviously another critical step in finding the right sources, and is done based on your organizational requirements. For example, HR requirements, financial requirements, health and safety requirements, technological requirements, ethics, proximity or geographical requirements. For example, you may need supplier not involved in unethical practices related to deforestation or child labor, etc. Identifying sources of potential suppliers is done through various channels. However, the most prevalent ones are through various industry journals, also through Ariba platform, which is a huge database of suppliers. Also one of the key areas to discover suppliers used by your industry competitors by going through their websites. You may also find new sources from specific consultants dealing in your specialized sourcing needs. For example, a design consultant in the construction industry may refer you to well-reputed construction management firms. Shortlisting is the process of holding down on your 5 to 6 suppliers based on your predetermined criteria, and is done by a pre-assigned team who reviews these suppliers with the lens of your pre-specified organizational needs. Determining the methodology to assess and evaluate suppliers is the essence of this whole exercise. Determining selection criteria is another vital step to classify who's your final supplier of choice based on an objective assessment without having different biases. For example, some of your team members may have a certain affinity to a certain supplier, which may not serve your organization in the best possible way. These criteria may vary from organization to organization. However, the most common one at the top are normally cost, quality and delivery, management support, certifications like ISO, TQM, etc., compliance to the specification management capabilities, so on and so forth. Contract and agreements are the formal closure of this exercise and is done post-selection and a possible negotiation exercise. There are various industry templates available that you can use. For example, in the field of construction, you have certain standards like CCDC contracts. You also could work on the supplier prescribed templates. Most appropriate one is to use your own homegrown template, as this may protect you manifold. However, the catch is that it shouldn't be lopsided towards your own needs, else you may end up negotiating that with supplier legal department for weeks, if not months. Evaluating the performance of your chosen supplier is very important, as it gives an audit of your selection process as to how successful you have been, and also provides lessons learned exercise for your future projects and becomes part of an organizational knowledge base. We shall now examine briefly some of the different criteria that an organization may use to assess potential suppliers. Although it may not be possible to obtain all the relevant information, whatever data can be obtained will help the buying organization assess the potential for a successful match. First 5 criteria I can talk about now is as follows. So, number 1, process and design capabilities. Suppliers should have up-to-date and capable products as well as processes, technologies to produce the material needed, because different manufacturing and service processes have various strengths and weaknesses. The buying organization must be aware of these characteristics upfront so that they make sound judgment in selecting the right candidate for the right job. Number 2 is quality and reliability. Quality levels of the procurement item should be a very important factor in supplier selection. Product quality should consistently meet specified requirements since it can directly affect the quality of the finished good. As it is said, garbage in, garbage out, as well as using the terminology of doing it right for the first time. The next one is cost. While unit cost of the material is not typically the sole criteria in selecting supplier selection, total cost of ownership is an important factor. Total cost of ownership includes the unit price of material, payment terms, cash discounts, ordering cost, carrying cost, logistics cost, maintenance, breakdown, disposal costs, etc., etc., etc. However, it must be applied where it's justified, as this exercise requires a lot of time and effort and not practical to apply across the board. So there has to be a dollar and a selection threshold where total cost of ownership is applied. Next is service. Suppliers must be able to back up their products by providing good service when needed. For example, when product information or warranty service is needed, suppliers must respond on a timely basis and provide needed information quickly. This is best served when you have a pre-aligned SLA or a service level agreement as part of your overall contract. This is to avoid unnecessary and undue expectations on both sides. Next is capacity. The organization may also need to consider whether the supplier has the capacity to fill orders to meet requirements and the ability to fill large orders if needed. This is vital, as supplier selection in itself is a time-consuming exercise, especially in case of direct materials. These suppliers are likely to stay with you for a longer time, and you need them as you scale up or scale down your operations subject to market needs. COVID is one recent example of how organizations have dealt by varying market needs on an almost daily basis. We'll talk about the next criteria, which is geographical location is another important factor in supplier selection, as it impacts delivery, lead time, transportation, and logistics cost. Some organizations require their suppliers to be located within a certain distance from their facilities to make sure that regular supplies are done on a regular basis and on a timely basis. Again, this criteria has proven well in COVID times when GIT almost failed various organizations. Next is management capability. Assessing a potential supplier's management capability is complicated but important step. The different aspects of management capability includes management's commitment to continuous process and quality improvements, its overall professional ability and experience, etc. This is done to make sure that you get what you were promised as per the committed business norms and agreement. Supplier selection scorecards. During the selection stage, sometimes organizations need a structured way to evaluate alternative suppliers. A supplier selection scorecard may be used as a decision support tool and is vital for an objective assessment, leaving behind personal biases. Financial condition and cost structure. Evaluation teams will typically evaluate different financial ratios that determine whether a supplier can continue to meet its debt. These elements are important in determining whether the supplier will continue to be a reliable source of supply. Amongst various tools, D&V is quite often used to check the validity of the said organization. Planning and control systems. Planning and control systems include those systems that release, schedule, and control the flow of work within an organization and also with outside parties. Placing orders with a supplier should be easy, quick, and effective. For example, through SAP and Ariba. Oracle and other platforms are the tried and tested tools used across the globe to manage large amount of transactions in an integrated fashion. Let's talk about supplier quality management system. Supplier quality management shows a supplier's talent in the delivery of goods or services to satisfy a buyer's need. It seeks to ensure units fit to buyer's demand with no or little use of minimal inspection and adjustment. There are 9 steps of supply quality assurance. Product quality requirements defined as number 1. Alternative supplier evaluations as number 2. Next is best supplier selection. Number 3 is dual quality planning conduction. Number 4 is relationship period cooperation. The next one is conformance to requirements validated. Following that is qualified suppliers certifications. Next to that is implementing quality improvement plans. And finally, use of created suppliers rating. Let's now talk about metrics used for scoring supply quality management. So there are 5 key matrices that are used to measure supplier quality management. Number 1 is overall equipment effectiveness, or OEE. To create a metric with better visibility for key operation areas by calculating the OEE. OEE is nothing but availability times efficiency times quality. OEE often measures how often an asset is available when it should be producing product for a consumer, and if an asset is close to producing a buyer product to its theoretical maximum. OEE also measures percentages of met quality specifications for products produced. There should be argument on the method of calculation, that is on an equipment basis or an online basis. Number 2 is products in compliance percentages. This metric is crucial in regulated fields such as medical devices, biotechnology, pharmaceutical, and the food and beverage industries. Also, the automotive as well as aerospace and defense fields needs this vital data metric. It measures compliance with government regulations and internal guidelines by percentages of products. Number 3 is complete on-time shipments. Product quality should not delay final delivery, while on-time and complete shipments as a metric sounds easy. Ways companies measure this metric can be very different from industry to industry. Food and beverage industry may have a lower tolerance level, as there could be many suppliers available compared to pharma, where suppliers are available in a certain niche, so the tolerance level is relatively high. Cost of quality. This metric measures the cost to manufacture a quality product. 2 main cost categories are good quality and poor quality. And number 5 is new product introduction, or NPI. NPI metric is defined as a new product percentages that meet volume, quality, and time goals. New products introduced for a competitive advantage are vital to industries like consumer electronics and automotive. Profit growth depends on how well a firm handles new product introduction while effectively meeting NPI goals. For example, Reckitt Benckiser, an international conglomerate CPG, highly rates NPI on an ongoing basis and keeps this metric as a vital criterion in their portfolio. So folks, this is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to join me and let's discuss.